Good evening and welcome. Thanks for joining us this evening. This is part of live meeting series that we've had throughout the week. Yesterday for elementary and middle school parents and guardians, earlier, just a little bit earlier for high school parents and guardians. And we felt that it was important that we create some time for pupil services to talk with you about the hybrid model and what that will entail for students. There were a lot of questions that came in during those other meetings, and we would answer them as best as possible, but also let folks know about the meeting that would be occurring this evening. Any questions that can be answered absolutely will be answered. Sometimes the question can't be answered because we don't have all of the data. So we're getting questions about numbers of students in Haverford Online and the sizes of cohorts, and a lot of that depends on the choice that parents actually make, which is why our parent preference form is helpful for us to get that information back and to look at the data and planning to move forward. So I'm going to turn it over this evening. My colleagues from Pupil Services are here, and we also have Mr. Grant from the middle school and Ms. Edmondson from the high school. So I'll turn it over to Nicole Battistelli, our Director of Pupil Services, to introduce the team and get us started.
Great, thank you, Dr. Rushi. Good evening, Haverford community. We are super excited to have you with us tonight so we can discuss our plans for the 2020-2021 school year. First, I want to introduce our administrative team here in Pupil Services. So, like Dr. Rushi said, my name is Nicole Battistelli. I'm the Director of Pupil Services and Special Education. Joining me this evening is Mr. David Parker, who is our Coordinator of Pupil Services, overseeing English language development and gifted education. It's David there. We also have Natalia Adelizi, our coordinator of elementary special programs. Natalia oversees special education and 504 service agreements at the elementary level.
Hi, good evening.
And Jessica Gondek, our coordinator of secondary special programs, who oversees special education and 504 service agreements at the middle school and high school.
Hi, how are you?
So our team here this evening all went into special education, of course, first as teachers, because we really have a passion for advocating for and for supporting students. And we bring that passion with us into all of our planning. I also think it's important to note that between the four of us, we have 12 children, ranging in ages from 5 months to 15 years. So we've had this unique experience of viewing this current situation as both parents and professionals. And we also approach our work using that perspective. With us this evening, we also have Dan Horan, our middle school principal.
Good evening.
And Rosemary Edmiston, one of our assistant principals at the high school.
Good evening, everybody.
So our team has worked diligently with our building level administrators to plan for the 2020-2021 school year, and for moving our students, all of our students, into a new environment, whether that be the hybrid model or Haverford Online. Just to start, I want to say that we're really anticipating many questions this evening, and we really want to be able to answer them. So when you submit a question, if you can include your email address and phone number, if we don't get to your question, we will reach out to you. So please, when you type your question, please write an email address and phone number. That will make it easier for us. We really are here to support you. We want to address your concerns. We also want, our department oversees a lot of things that are very individualized. So when you reach out, we might have to set up an IEP meeting because of the nature of the question. So please feel free, email address, phone number, or be entering the chat. But it's likely we won't get to all questions, and we really do want to address your concerns or questions you may have. So our goal continues to be to provide your child with the programming that your child needs to continue the success they had in the traditional schedule, whether they participate in our hybrid model or Haverford Online. Tonight, we're going to go over the hybrid model, Haverford Online. We're going to talk a little bit about the health and safety plan and things that pertain to some of our students particularly. If you want to see a presentation on the health and safety plan tomorrow evening, there's a school board meeting where I'll be presenting on the health and safety plan. But we'll also talk about some next steps. We're going to answer some questions as we go through the presentation, and we're going to leave some questions for the end. So as we go through, we'll try to address some questions, and then we'll also do some Q&A at the end. If you want to go to the next slide, Anna. So first, I want to say we're prepared to enter school and address the social and emotional needs of our students. We've had teachers, counselors, home and school visitors, psychologists, administrators, instructional aides, all participate in some level of trauma-informed care training. Over the summer, our psychologists and home and school visitors, they participated in training specific to returning during this pandemic. So we really, we are here to support the whole child, and first things first, we want to let you know that we are preparing for supporting our children's social and emotional needs. We're going to continue our partnership with Lakeside Neurologic. Lakeside, we have 2 counselors, therapeutic counselors from Lakeside. They also provide us with trauma-informed care training throughout the school year. So that partnership will continue. You might want to ask, like, why we are focusing on trauma-informed practices. They really help us create relationships and make connections. That's what's really important as we return to school. Our students have been away from us. We really want to foster those relationships and continue to make those connections. It fosters collaboration. We create culturally responsiveness to students' needs, promoting trust and transparency, and we're empowering those who've experienced trauma. Now the question that's on all of our minds: how will my child recover skills? So when your children, pretty much all children, return, we're going to reassess and gather data on your child's functioning level on all skills, including your IEP goals. If your child's skills have regressed, the IEP team will develop a plan to provide appropriate interventions. Some plans might last longer than others. Some may require a few additional instructional sessions. Some students may not have regressed in their skills. So really, for every student, the answer is going to be very individualized and different. But for all students in the district, we have to build on this next year and beyond, you know, some ability to supplement instruction in the areas that may not have been covered as effectively during the COVID shutdown. And we're going to try to focus on the long-term skill development and try not to overload our students. There's still a lot of discussion about this. I can tell you that our administrators attended a conference today, I would say, from 12:30 to 4:30 by the Bureau of Special Education. And it's clear there's a lot of guidance still to come. So we're getting more information. That meeting was today, this afternoon, and we tried to talk very quickly before this meeting. And there is another meeting tomorrow from 9 to 12 where we anticipate this will be a topic of discussion with the Bureau of Special Education. So we are reaching out and trying to get some guidance because we want, you know, for our students to recover their skills. So we're going to move into talking about the hybrid model, which is one of the models proposed by the district. In this model, we have some students who will come to school Monday and Wednesday, and some students, the other cohort, coming to school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. When students are not in person, they're going to be engaging in virtual learning, and Friday is going to be a virtual learning day for all students. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Natalia Adelizi, to discuss this in more detail. Natalia?
Hi, thank you. My name is Natalia Adelizi, and I am the Special Education Coordinator for K-5 here at Haverford. Nicole, before I went on to my piece of the presentation, we did have a couple questions come in regarding how are counselors preparing as it relates to trauma-informed care, and can teachers comfort our students, especially our youngest little guys?
Yeah, so this is like a really big focus right now for us. Our counselors have been working on lessons specific to the circumstances we find ourselves in right now. They've been attending trainings, principals and meeting with our counselors. The pupil services team has been meeting with teachers, and this has been a topic of discussion. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail later in our presentation, how we're preparing to welcome our students, make them comfortable, and address their needs. But this is like a huge focus for us. So I want to let everybody know that we are prepared to make our students feel comfortable when they return to school.
Thank you. And just so I can keep on top of the questions coming in this evening, again, just some questions. Can you just expand a little bit on questions coming in for making up for regression, during our COVID time?
Right, and that was what I was discussing on the last slide. We are still very much getting new information from the Bureau of Special Education. So our plans will roll out once we have a bit more guidance. The first meeting was today. There's another meeting tomorrow, and we're going to meet as a team and kind of look at what we can do to address any needs if students have regressed.
Great, thank you. Anna, can we go to the next slide? So what will my child's special education program look like specifically in the hybrid model? So in a hybrid model, students will continue to receive the services and specially designed instruction as outlined in their IEP. These services will be a mix of in-person as well as offers for live instruction on students' virtual days to meet the needs of your child as it's stated in their individualized education plan. It is important to note that we have read your parent feedback and have been working with teachers, central administration, and building principals to provide a more enhanced model for children on virtual school days. We have expanded our resources to include Canvas, iReady, as well as electronic versions of various resources your children have used in our brick and mortar programming. In addition, there will be the opportunity for instructional aides to work with children virtually while your child is attending virtually on those days. At this time, we anticipate being able to offer students with the most intensive level of need in the district the opportunity to attend 4 days per week. This is not based solely on disability category. It is based on the level of intensive supports those children require in a special education classroom throughout the entirety of their day. So for example, one student with autism may be in a regular education class for most of their day with a bi-weekly social skills lesson, while another student may require instruction within the autistic support classroom for a majority of their day. Both students have autism, but the one who spends a majority of their day in a special education class is more likely to be given the option to come in for 4 days.
And Natalia, I'm going to jump in here a bit.
Please.
If we've learned anything during this pandemic, I would say it's that we need to be a bit more community minded. We're considering the community as a whole when we're making these decisions. We have measured all of our special education classrooms across the district. We have measured alternate spaces because our goal really was to bring in all students with IEPs if we could. We know we cannot do that. We cannot maintain 6 feet of social distancing if we brought all children with IEPs back into the building. We know, I'm going to use the example Natalia used. If we have a student in our autistic support program who's there for a majority of their day, that student, we know that that classroom can be socially distanced at 6 feet with all of their students present. We also know that, which is really important, that student will not be mixing cohorts. So we have cohort A and cohort B. Those students, any of the students that are identified that we recommend this for, will not be crossing cohorts. When we have students who are in the regular education classroom for more of their day, we then get into crossing cohorts, and we're setting up this model to avoid that. So I wanted to let you know, we are looking at this. We've been looking at this. We're measuring. We've been all over the district. And if anything changes, we will let you know. But I do think that as a community, we're hoping that you understand that we have the opportunity here to offer some additional time to students who typically need more support and benefit from the most support. And so we would like to offer that to those students. This isn't just a special education issue either. You know, we have students who are English learners. Some students may not have any English language. And so we would look at also, could some of those students come in more frequently? Again, I want you to know how hard we did work on this. We were measuring all the time. We were really considering the class size, the number of students, the number of adults that are in some of our special education classrooms, because it's important to know that we need to maintain 6 feet of social distancing. And if we have a couple additional instructional assistants in that classroom because of students' IEP needs, they need to be socially distant as well. So as we get more information, if we get some updated guidance that the rules that we're currently following are relaxed slightly, we will be reaching out. But I did want you to know that that's how we came up with identifying the children with the most intensive level of need, and why we can't offer it to everyone. Although, we really wish we could. It's just not something we can do with 6 feet of social distancing. So thank you for letting me jump in there, Natalia. As I'm looking, we do have a few questions coming in. Let me just. So what if my child had a hard time on the online format during the spring? So if your child had a hard time, first I want to stress that the experience your child had in the spring is not the same experience your child will have in the fall with hybrid learning. We said in the spring that, as our capacity builds and we can do more, we will do more. We can do more now. We have more resources. We had the experience of the spring. We were kind of thrown into schools closing. Now we've had time to gather more resources, to participate in more training. Bringing on Canvas is going to be great for organizing our students. So we really do feel the fall experience will be different. I also want to let you know, if you have specific questions about your child struggling with some part of their education, please, we will not hesitate to call an IEP meeting. Just please reach out to your child's case manager. We'll have an IEP meeting. We'll try to address the concerns as best we can. So I just want to let you know, that's what we'll do there. I see another question. Will all special education students be in the same cohort? I have multiple children, but only one with an IEP. Is there a chance that my kids will attend on different days? So buildings will be splitting by last name. And if your family has different last names, we are keeping families together. That is our goal. So your children will attend on the same day. We're cross-referencing children who are in specialized programs in buildings outside of their home school to make sure that they are attending the same day as their siblings who attend maybe Chatham Park, and when the other sibling may be at Coopertown or Linwood. So we really, we're really focusing on keeping families together. Natalia, I'm going to turn it right back to you, I believe. You're in the next slide.
Great, thank you. So this slide is going to speak specifically about how child's 504 plans will be implemented in the hybrid model. Your child's school counselor will continue to be their case manager. As in every school year, the case manager works with you and the school team to ensure everyone has a copy of the 504 and understands all of the accommodations that are listed. The accommodations will be provided both while your child is in school as well as their virtual days. But we do recognize that there may be a need to amend the 504 as we learn about your child in the virtual environment. So I think that's really important to note. As you can see, there are a host of related services that children receive according to their child's individualized document. All of our related service providers will work with the family and the school team to establish a schedule, which could include a mix of both in-person as well as virtual sessions. The services and frequency will be in accordance with your child's IEP. We do not anticipate any decrease in the service time as listed. And unless there are any questions.
Natalia, there's a question, so I'm going to jump in.
Okay. I was going to hand it over to Mr. Parker, but please.
I will do that at the end of my questions here. So there's a question about sanitizing, cleaning that will occur between OT and PT sessions, particular to OT and PT. And we're working with our staff to train them on the different ways things will need to be cleaned between sessions. You know, we want to let you know though that your children will not be cleaning items. We're going to make sure that our staff is handling the cleaning supplies. You know, young children will put their hands in their mouth and their eyes. So we really will make sure things are clean, and we're not going to ask your children to do that. There's another question. Will my child receive the related services during their in-person day or on one of the virtual days? So this is really going to be based on the student's needs. We've been receiving requests for both virtual or in-person based on preference. And this is something the school team will have to look into, and the professional that meets with your child. So that would probably be something you should discuss with that therapist and your IEP case manager. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. David Parker now, and we'll try to answer some questions as we go through these slides.
Good evening. My name is David Parker. I'm the coordinator of Pupil Services. In a hybrid model, students who receive gifted services will continue to receive instruction from Haverford teachers of gifted learners, as outlined in their GIEPs. Gifted learners will be provided with both direct and indirect instruction that coincides with their individual schedules between in-person and virtually scheduled days. Currently, we are starting the process of recreating our elementary seminar program using the Canvas platform, and we're exploring different opportunities utilizing Canvas at the secondary level with our gifted program.
And I'm going to try and start bunching these questions, Ms. Battistelli, by kind of like how they're coming in, and that way we can kind of answer them. So just a couple questions have already come in as it relates to gifted. So one of them is, will my child's seminar program be delivered in person, virtually, or both?
So if we're talking about the hybrid model, which is the slide we're on right now, it may be a mix of both. It really depends on your child's schedule, the frequency of services in their GIEP, and obviously if your child's in Haverford online, it would be virtual.
And we know what amazing teachers we have. So we also have some questions in regards to, will children continue to work with the same seminar teacher they worked with in the spring given our hybrid model?
Yeah, so in the hybrid model, yes, your children will continue to work with the their home teacher of the gifted. So the teacher they worked with in the spring, unless they're moving up to the middle school or high school, and then that'll be a change. But yes, in the hybrid model, it will be the same teachers.
Thanks. I think I'm going to go on to the next slide where I have a chance to organize some of these questions.
Thank you. As far as our English language development program is concerned, in a hybrid model, our students will continue to receive instruction from their Haverford EL teachers, just as they did before. Our EL curriculum includes resources that help enhance and facilitate virtual instructional designs, and our students, in the springtime, our students made sure we knew just how helpful those tools were. And we made sure that the students wanted to make sure we included those same resources, those same tools in our plans for the fall semester. Our students were eager for interactive opportunities with peers across the district, and that has continued into the summertime. Our EL teachers are working to develop a flexible platform in Canvas to ensure students have reliable access to the tools they need while learning virtually. I'm not sure if we want to go back to questions right now or not.
Yeah, I have just one, I want to clarify. So will the PowerPoint be made available to everyone?
Yes, so this is being recorded. It'll be posted on our website. Parents will have the opportunity to translate this PowerPoint using the translation tool on our website, but we're also going to send it home to our families of English learners using the software we use to communicate with them in their home language. And we're also going to make sure that there's closed captioning on this video once it's posted to the website. So, but yes, that was a long answer. Yes, it will be available.
I also just want to note before we get to the next slide that there are some questions coming in that I do know we cover later in the presentation. So I will keep note to make sure that we do cover those answers. But I'll just so everybody is aware, I'm not ignoring your questions.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce my colleague, Jessica Gondek, and she's going to provide us with some, and if you could go to the next slide, she's going to provide us with some information on Haverford Online and what that will look like. Jessica?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself there. Good evening. My name is Jessica Gondek, and I am the coordinator of secondary special programs. It is very important for all of us that our students who enroll in the Haverford Online program maintain connections with their neighborhood schools. The guidance counselors, as well as the principals and assistant principals who would support your students in the traditional building, will continue to follow students in Haverford Online. Students with IEPs will be assigned a special education teacher and IEP case manager. If this person is new to your child's team, we will make sure that they have the opportunity to speak to your child's previous teachers. Enrollment for Haverford Online is currently open, and we are reviewing and will continue to review those registrations, and we'll set up IEP meetings for any student who completes the enrollment in Haverford Online. At this meeting, each IEP team will discuss the student's individual needs and identify how they will be supported in the virtual environment.
Thanks, Ms. Gondek. Just a question regarding their case manager. So if families choose to enroll in Haverford Online, will they have the same case manager that they have now?
It depends. We're really, we need to look at the numbers enrolling in Haverford Online. Likely it'll be someone who's working with Haverford Online and possibly not the case manager they're used to from their home school. But we need to get that enrollment information. We need to look at cohorts of students to really make those determinations. So I know that's not, it depends answer, and that's not what a very direct answer, but that's what we know for now. So as we have more information, obviously we'll share that with everybody.
Okay. And then another question regarding if schools were to shut down, would special education students be able to come in?
So if Governor Wolf or the Department of Health or the Chester County Department of whoever tells us that we have to shut down, I don't think it's likely we'll be allowed to bring in certain students unless they specify that in their order. So again, if Governor Wolf or the Department of Health does that, I'm not sure, because I would have to look at what the order specifically says, but they did not last time. So I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Gondek, I think you're up again.
Thank you. So what will your child's special ed program look like in Haverford Online? Students will continue to be included in all of their general education classes, which they would have participated in if they were in a brick and mortar school. Needs that are identified in the student's IEPs will be addressed through a combination of synchronous and asynchronous teaching. Depending on the needs of the student, this may result in more synchronous learning sessions than are planned for their online peers who do not require the support of an IEP. All related services that are listed in a student's IEP will be delivered through Zoom sessions, and we will have instructional aides available during the school day to schedule sessions with students or groups of students in order to support kids who require assistance with completing their assignments. Haverford Online will be using the Canvas learning platform. This will allow for all of the information related to your child's program to be stored in one location. Information that will include their scheduled synchronous lessons, related services, and asynchronous assignments.
Thanks, Ms. Gondek. I'm just going to try and get through a few more of these questions. And this relates really to the Haverford Online specifically. So where are the teachers in Haverford Online coming from? Are we hiring them, or are they our own people?
Yeah, so they will be our own people. They will be Haverford teachers. So again, we're really hoping that if you're considering going on to Haverford Online, that you register soon so we can look at staffing. There's a lot that we have to plan once we have those numbers, but they're Haverford teachers.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think you're up again, Ms. Gonda.
Thank you. There's probably some questions about a child's 504 plan and how that will be implemented within Haverford Online. So students who receive accommodations and modifications through a Section 504 plan who enroll in Haverford Online will see these accommodations continue in the virtual setting. The school guidance counselors will continue to be the case manager for the 504 plans of our students in Haverford Online, and the principals and assistant principals will also remain the same. The counselors, as the case managers, will distribute each student's 504 plan to the online teachers and will review the accommodations and modifications with them. As we are doing with students who have IEPs, we will provide time for our online teachers to speak with their previous year's teachers. If additional accommodations or a change to existing accommodations are needed, we will schedule a 504 plan meeting. I will turn it over to Mr. Parker to discuss how Haverford Online will support our students with gifted needs and our English learners.
All right, hold on a second. I just want to try and keep up with some of these questions. So I'm going to interrupt for just a second. I know you're really excited for Mr. Parker's content, but just hold on. So one of the questions regards, will my child's weekly meetings in Haverford Online be easier to coordinate? A few parents have commented that they've had trouble keeping up with the emails, the Google Classroom, and it really just became a confusing process for families.
Yes, so we're going to use Canvas going into the fall, and Canvas is, it's different than Google Classroom. All your child's schedule will be housed in Canvas. Communication will be housed in Canvas. Their learning will be housed in Canvas. We have our staff, teachers, related personnel. They've been trained and are continuing to be trained in Canvas. They're specifically being trained in making it more accessible for our students. It really is going to streamline everything for parents. I can tell you, I have a student, my child was in kindergarten, halfway through kindergarten when we closed, and the number of emails and links and usernames and passwords, it was overwhelming. So we really thought it was important to go with a model and a learning management system that could really organize everything so it's in one place. And I really do think that it'll be a lot easier. There's a calendar feature where assignments can pop up. The same feature could have the related service sessions pop up, and it organizes it for the child not entering information into the calendar. That's coming from the teachers and school personnel. So I really do think it'll be more organized for everyone.
And Nicole, could you just clarify, just for families, the difference between virtual and Haverford Online? So virtual days versus Haverford Online.
Okay, so Haverford Online is its own program. To be honest with you, I used to run the Haverford Online program before I moved into the Pupil Services special education role while I was a teacher on special assignment. That program's been around for about 12 years. It's a program that will run all year. We'll have Haverford teachers. For the most part, it will be our course content that's developed by our teachers. In some cases, for some classes that do not have, and this is more of a general curriculum statement here, for classes that don't have many students, we may use Pearson Connexus for that curriculum, but it will still be taught by a Haverford teacher. And that program will run all year. The virtual learning days will be taught by the teacher that your children see in person. If you're debating between, do I put my child in Haverford Online? I know we all have this question of what's going to happen if schools close. If schools close, should I switch to the virtual learning that will take place when schools close. And so I just want to make sure everyone's aware that we don't think, we think it's unlikely that schools will be closed all school year. So if your child has medical needs and that's the reason they can't come into the building, Haverford Online is probably the best choice for you to limit the transitions, because virtual learning will be in place, and then we'll use that if we're closed. But then once we go back, you know, that goes back to the virtual learning hybrid model. So if you're considering, you know, which do I choose? My child's definitely not going to school this year. Haverford Online is probably the right choice for you, but please reach out to us. You know, like I said, I used to oversee the Haverford Online program, so I have that background, and I'd love to answer questions if anybody has them.
And I do want to just recognize we are getting some specific questions regarding individual children's programming. And I am keeping note of that, and we will make sure that we reach out to you individually to discuss, you know, your very specific concerns about your children. That information will come directly from the coordinators.
Thanks, Natalia.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions for me, or can I turn it over to David?
I think for right now, I'm going to turn it over to David.
Sounds good.
Okay. As referenced with some of our other programming comments, students who are eligible to receive gifted services and who decide to enroll in Haverford Online will continue to receive gifted services from a Haverford teacher, and those services will be scheduled in accordance with all other gifted programming needs. Our gifted teachers have been working to organize our seminar program in such a way that brings flexibility to our program K-12. I want to pause for any questions there, Natalia.
Yeah, that's good. I can catch up. Actually, I have to catch up from a 504 question that came in. So parents want to know, can accommodations be changed based on how a child is responding, you know, to the online environment?
Of course. You should have a 504 team meeting and discuss that. But yes, of course.
If a child has a pre-existing health condition that is not part of their current 504, do they have to have it documented in their 504?
I'm going to ask in that situation that parent reaches out to us so we can get some clarity on the needs of the student. But I'm going to ask, you know, we have the name for that parent, so actually we'll reach out to you. But if many people have questions like that, please reach out to us, send an email, comment with your email or phone number. Please reach out to us.
And then for parents who may have missed the beginning of this presentation, are we recording it?
Yes, yep. So I stated that a little bit earlier. This is being recorded. It will be posted on our website and available for everyone to view.
Okay. And then if a child has an IEP, can they switch between hybrid and Haverford Online?
So yes. So if your child starts out in hybrid and it's not meeting your family's needs anymore, you can switch to Haverford Online. It would, you know, they'd be jumping in, you know, just like they just moved into the district, but they have the background of knowing our teacher, so not quite as significant. But that program will already be running with students. We would have an IEP meeting to discuss, you know, how we can meet your child's needs in that program. It's important to know, though, that if you're starting out in Haverford Online, we're asking that people commit to, I want to say, a trimester or the first semester, because we can't just put another chair in a classroom at some point. So we do want to note that if you're starting out in Haverford Online, please reach out to us if it is absolutely not working. We'll have a meeting, but know that that transition may be a little bit more difficult.
Great, thank you.
All right, Mr. Parker, are you ready?
Well, let's get this going here. As for students in our English language development program who decide to enroll in Haverford Online, they will continue to receive both direct and indirect EL services from a Haverford teacher, just as they had before. And we'll make sure that coincides with their individual schedules, as well as ensure the services are scheduled in accordance with all the other programming, EL programming needs across the building. Similarly, to our gifted students, our EL teachers have been working to reorganize our program in such a way that enhances our students' continued language development, whether we're meeting with students in person or virtually. We've been very happy with the progress of that over the summer weeks. I'll pause there for more questions, possibly.
Let me see. I had an EL question earlier. I just want to make sure I get it right. So will EL students have access to the same materials as when they are in school?
Yes, so that's a great question. Our curriculum has a variety of online resources. So yes, they will have access to the same materials. They really loved those online resources when we were out in the spring. So yes.
Okay. Seems like there's a lot of talk of devices and being able to get on virtually or through Haverford Online. So what about for families who don't have a device that they could dedicate to their child?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, the district is rolling out our One to World initiative, which means we will have a device for every child in the district. At the, I want to say, and I'm not the tech person, so please forgive me if I completely butcher this. From K to 2, students will be given Chromebook tablets so that they can type, but they can also use it like an iPad because of their fine motor skills that, you know, kids are used to just touch screen. And then from 3rd to 12th grade, I hope I don't have the grade levels off, but I don't think I do. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Those students will get Chromebooks. We are continuing to survey families if they're in need of Wi-Fi support. You know, we were able to roll those services out last year, and we'll continue to do so in this coming school year.
Just a few questions regarding, can you just re-clarify for us what gifted will look like in the online model?
Right, so they'll students will receive the same services as outlined in their GIEPs, but it will be virtual. So we're using Canvas to build that work. So it'll be a virtual model.
And our current gifted teachers are the ones who are building those Haverford online classes. Yeah, Canvas courses, great.
All right, ready for the next transition?
I think so. Give me a few minutes to get some of these together.
All right, next steps. What to do if you're considering Haverford Online for your child. Student registration it's been mentioned a few times, we'll mention it again. Student registration is now open and will remain open until August 7th, through August 7th. After Haverford Online registration closes, we, the administrative team here in Pupil Services, will work with the curriculum department to finalize plans for our students who receive specialized services and who enroll in Haverford Online. During the weeks of August 16th and August 23rd, someone from the Pupil Services Department will be reaching out to families who enroll in Haverford Online to follow up. We will hold IEP meetings or GIEP meetings or 504 meetings for students who enroll in Haverford Online to discuss any changes that may be necessary. So that's really on an individualized student by student situation, how those meetings and decisions will be made.
Okay, so somebody had asked if they have already submitted their intent to register for Haverford Online. I think I know where they're going with this one. So if they've submitted their intent, is that different than the registration that we're talking about now?
Yes. So if you plan to enroll your child in Haverford Online, those links to that registration is on our website now. So the intent was, you know, feedback we got about the numbers of people who want to go into Haverford Online versus the hybrid model. But if you want to register for Haverford Online, you can do that on the website. So that information is all on our website right now. I just want to mention, as people are, you know, chatting in their questions, if you missed the first couple minutes, I asked that people include their email and phone number. I just wanted to remind everyone that we may not be able to answer all questions, but we really do want to address your questions. So if we don't get to your question, please just type an email address, a phone number that we can reach you at, and we're happy to reach out. Thank you.
Ms. Battistelli, will the district be limiting access to various websites on student tablets and Chromebooks? And that's a practice we already have established, but if you want to explain it a little
Yeah,
more.
that's a great question. I'd have to have our tech person to talk about exactly how that works, but I do believe we limit access. I'm not sure how it works, to be honest with you. But I can reach out to our tech department, and if you submitted your email address and phone number with that question, we can get back to you. Okay, I'm gonna take the next slide about evaluations and reevaluations. So I just want to note that evaluations are going to be a little bit of a different experience with social distancing, masking, our hygiene protocols, our cleaning protocols. So they're all going to be in place for our evaluations and reevaluations. We have masks available. You know, the school psychologist would be the one doing the cleaning. We had evaluations or reevaluations that started right as schools closed. And so we obviously couldn't have access to students. It wasn't safe. We'll be sending new permissions to evaluate or permissions to reevaluate for the ones that were kind of in limbo there. I just want to make sure that people know, even though you signed and gave us permission back, you know, before schools closed, we need to get permission again. So if you get that in the mail, please sign it, send it back so we can start the process. If schools close, it's likely testing will not be able to continue because we do need access to children for testing. There are some things like, you know, rating scales that parents fill out, you know, that teachers fill out, but a majority of our evaluations we really need access to our students. So I wanted to get that information out for everyone.
And a question very specific to eval. So a parent knows that an evaluation for their child is due this year for a reevaluation, but they're not comfortable with having their child come into the school for testing. What will we do in that situation?
All right, I would reach out to the school psychologist and your child's case manager. We don't want to put anyone in a situation that they're not comfortable with. So we'd have to discuss options.
Okay, thank you. And then if a child is enrolled in Haverford online, how will that evaluation take place? Can it be done online?
So again, we would need access to the child for the evaluation. As of right now, that's the process for evaluations. That's the testing protocol that's in place right now. If parents are more comfortable with their child being tested at the Oakmont building, if this is an online student, we can arrange for the testing to take place there because our school psychologists have their offices and meeting space and testing space there. I know most of our evaluations happen, during the school day. We're pulling students or, in the school building. But if you were a Haverford Online student and you're not comfortable going into the full school building, we could set that up.
Thank you. I'll gather some more questions and then I think we have another slide. Okay,
so I'm going to go over some special considerations for our students. And this is specific to the health and safety plan and how it impacts some of the things we do in our programs. So students are going to still have access to their sensory rooms when they're in school, but anything that cannot be easily cleaned, we've already removed. So something that was like a fluffy fabric, we had to remove, to maintain good hygiene and cleaning. I also wanted to mention that, we have students who have instructional aides, and they're going to maintain 6 feet of social distance unless your child's IEP requires close proximity or your child, there's a safety concern. So when I say close proximity, I don't mean that your child's IEP says that the instructional aide is going to prompt them by tapping on the desk, and that means the aide is now going to stand within 6 inches of your child tapping on their desk. This really applies to our students who need close physical support to safely navigate the hallway, physical support to utilize the bathroom. We will try to find creative ways so that we're not breaking this 6 feet of social distancing. But in some cases, it's going to be necessary so that our students, remain safe as they navigate different situations that they need assistance with. There's also, there's a lot of talk about masks. And I wanted to let you know, we have purchased, and this is a good example of us getting a little resourceful in the pupil services department. We had a doctor come to one of our board meetings. I want to say the end of June. He was from their policy lab, and he talked about a Clearview face mask called the Communicator. So I immediately hop on. I'm going to get some of these masks because we have students with hearing impairments. We have students with communication needs. Teachers may need to wear them. Students may need to wear them. I'm getting these masks for our school district. They're not taking orders. They must have a trademark. They're not taking any orders. We're on an alert to get an alert when they can take orders. However, we found someone making these masks by hand. And this happens to be a company in Havertown. So it's working out wonderfully. So we're able to purchase those masks, even though I think many districts are finding them themselves in this spot where, they don't have access to some of this equipment, this adaptive PPE that we're looking for. But we're being resourceful. So if, the normal means of ordering these bulk items are not working, we're reaching out and finding someone who's making them in smaller quantities. We're finding people who are local. We're really doing whatever we can because that's important. That is really going to, make a difference for a student who, has a hearing impairment. They need to see someone's mouth. So we are really trying to be very resourceful in our acquisition of different things that we'll need. In addition, face shields. So we purchased, we know that some of our students will not be able to wear a mask. You should know that if your child cannot wear a mask based on their disability and it's documented, they're still coming to school. But we were trying to think of some other options. So there are these hats that many children with sensory needs are way more comfortable wearing that have like a face shield on the brim of the hat. So we did purchase some of those. Canvas. So this applies to all parents, and I may have mentioned this earlier when I was giving you a little rant about my experience with the virtual learning with all the passwords. There's going to be a parent training for Canvas, so take a deep breath. There will be a training for how to use Canvas. Our students are obviously going to be trained in Canvas, but there will be a parent training. So take a deep breath, everyone. Natalia, are there any questions?
Yeah, let me just catch up a little bit. So one is, can a family send their child in with their own sensory tools? In the past, they might have used one that they shared at school. But if they're uncomfortable with that, can they send in their own?
So I'm going to say this as a parent of a 6-year-old. If you're sending a sensory tool in, we just have to really work with the student that is for their use and their use only. Yes, you can send a sensory tool if their child has something that works for them. Yes, but just make sure that the child is aware that that's for them. They can't share it, even if it's super cool and they want to show all their classmates. They really need to keep that with their supplies and their own personal belongings. So,
all right.
Hope that
Thank
helps.
you. No, I think that does help. I'm going to go to the next slide. Give me a chance to organize the questions a little bit more, and we'll go from there.
Okay, Jessica, I believe you have the next slide.
I do. I'm going to take it from here. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the next steps as we're entering into August, and the countdown to the first day of school is rapidly approaching. And just as a little reminder, it is before Labor Day this year. The first day of school is August 31st. So we are just over a month out. The district has a few steps that we are currently putting in place because our staff is really committed to caring for the whole child, and we want your children to be comfortable and hopefully excited for their return to school, whichever option your family selects. We will have social stories ready for our students to prepare them for the changes that they will see in either model. We will also have virtual tours of our buildings and classrooms available for our children to view. When these are ready, they're not quite ready, but when they are ready, they will be posted to the website. Students who utilize visual charts will now have hand washing and other school procedures included in their chart that will be sent home as well. Our teachers are not getting a very relaxing summer. They are busy brainstorming a variety of ways to make sure that your child's transition to whichever program they select is a positive one.
Excellent. All right. No, that's good, Miss Best. I'm gonna spitball some questions. Okay. I'm gonna try and get them out so I can catch up. So the first one is, will my child still be able to take the bus?
Yes. So your child will still be able to ride the bus. That's obviously going to look a little different though. So we're going to be sure to include that. Jessica just mentioned the social stories. We'll make sure that we include that in our social stories. Masks are absolutely necessary on the bus. So, we'll hopefully be able to take some pictures on the bus with some masks to include in the social stories. But
okay. All right. And questions coming in for both students with 504s and IEPs. And I know Mr. Donaghy and his team at the high school really covers this so much throughout the year, and I would expect the same this year. But can you just talk a little bit, parents are asking about like transition to college and what that looks like for these students.
Right. So we still have all the support in place that we normally do. We have our guidance counselors. We have our special education teachers. We're still going to be able to support children as they plan for college. Maybe a meeting might be held virtually instead of in person if it requires a few people. That will be the difference. But we're going to still support our children as they make this transition. It's a very important one. Natalia, is there another question, or should I hop on over to the next?
No, we can go to the next one, and I'll keep catching up.
Okay, thank you. Jessica?
Sure. I know many of our parents are interested in how they can help prepare their children at home. I myself am busy preparing 4 daughters for what learning will look like for them, so I can certainly appreciate the perspective that a parent has. The list provided here is certainly not an exhaustive list, but we did come up with a few ideas of things that families can begin doing now. If your children are attending school through the hybrid model, please have them practice wearing a mask. Discuss the role of the mask and the importance of not sharing them. Likewise, please review good hygiene habits such as hand washing. For either the hybrid model or Haverford Online, we encourage you to set up a space in your home that is conducive to virtual learning. Create a daily schedule that includes structure and routine, and don't forget breaks, especially for our younger children. And finally, when explaining to your children why schooling looks different this year, because regardless of the option that your family chooses, it will look different. We encourage you to let your children know that the changes are being done in order to keep everyone healthy, instead of using the word safe. We want our children to know that our schools are safe places, and we don't want them to get confused with the health aspect and being unsafe. I will turn it back over to Nicole.
Okay, before we hop to the next slide, I just want to point out that the Chester County Department of Health is actually the Department of Health that oversees Delaware County, and their website has a lot of resources for parents. So when we post this PowerPoint and this video, I'll make sure we include a link to that website. So if any parents, interested in viewing some of those resources, they'll have easy access to that. It really is useful. Natalia, do we have any questions before I hop to the next slide?
Yes, there's a lot of excitement about potential social stories coming out for each building. So when will those social stories be available?
I want to say mid-August. We're hoping mid-August.
Yeah, and they'll be individualized by building, and that's why. Just because it won't be a general social story.
Yeah, we want students to see pictures of their school and their teachers and their cafeteria, not just one of the elementary cafeterias or one of, the entrances to school. We're gonna make it specific to each school.
When we are planning for cohorts, will gifted services be taken into account?
So when we plan for cohorts, we're doing that by alphabet. So I'm not sure if what that question's asking, like if kids will be grouped together based on their gifted.
On their gifted, yeah. Will we
Oh,
be
okay.
all gifted
So
in one cohort?
at this point, it's an alphabetical split, so it's not based on gifted cohorting.
We might have mentioned this, but training videos for parents for Canvas?
Yes. Yes, there will be training videos. I'm pretty sure our curriculum department already has quite a bit of that ready to go. So yeah, videos are very important for training.
Okay. And then one more. So for students who are new to a school, so for in a transition, your first graders, kindergartners, sixth graders, ninth graders, how will students know where to navigate and where to go on the first day of school?
Right. So that's something we're working on with, like, how do we have students start out in a place where the teacher can meet them but be socially distanced. So those logistics we're still working on, but please know that is what we're focused on. We want the first week of school, to really help make children feel welcome, get them acclimated to where they're going, their new teacher, their classmates, this new look for school. My own daughter said, "Oh, I can't wait to sit at my table with, so-and-so." And I said, "Oh, you might not sit at a table this year, so it's going to look different, and we're going to have some time to make sure that our children, are supported, and we're working on the logistics, but don't worry, we'll take care of them." Natalia, is there anything else?
No, I think I want to go over this last slide because that actually answers some of the questions. There's a question in here, but our next slide kind of answers it.
Oh, okay. So this is just some general information. We're going to have to hold all IEP, GIP, 504 meetings, pretty much any parent meeting, and probably most of our staff meetings will be held virtually in order to maintain social distancing. We don't have many places in our building that are, big enough to have all those adults spaced out appropriately. That's not in use by students. So I just want to let people know that that's what we're going to do. If things change, again, this is 8:04 Wednesday evening, July 29th, and I'll be presenting on the health and safety plan tomorrow. And as I can tell you from that experience, things change very frequently with the guidelines that we get. It seems almost weekly, sometimes more than just weekly. So if something changes, we'll look to change that. We still, no matter if we're on a virtual meeting or we're in person, we're still very committed to working collaboratively with our parents. That's not changing. But because of social distancing, we are going to use the online virtual meeting format. I also want to reiterate, if you have specific questions about your child's program, we are here to help. Please reach out to us. Give us some time. If we have a lot of emails coming in the next couple of days because of this meeting, we ask that you're patient with us, but we will be reaching out, and feel free to reach out to us. I'm going to, Natalia, do you have questions before I go to the next slide?
I do, yeah. I want to, what platform will we be using? Will we be using Zoom essentially for IEP meetings, GIEPs and 504s?
Yes, we will be using Zoom. So when we first closed, there was some question about we didn't go to Zoom quickly. We had to get Zoom up and running. It took us a little bit longer to get Zoom up and running because we were making sure that we were using it in the most secure way possible. I'm sure you all remember when we first closed, other districts and other professional organizations, they were experiencing, Zoom bombing. And we did not want our parents, our students, our staff experiencing a problem with Zoom. So we have a really great setup with Zoom. It's very secure, and that's what we're going to continue to use.
Thank you. Will teachers have private spaces available to keep information confidential if they are Zooming into an IEP or GIEP meeting? Good
Yes,
question.
and that's something we had to work out with our building principals. That it's very important that we have that space. So that was one of the many things we had to work out with spacing in the building. I know everyone knows how hard everyone's working right now and the complexity of this whole experience. That was one of the things that we had to look at when we were looking at building space.
Okay. All right, let's go on to the next slide.
Okay.
I think I'm almost getting caught up.
Good job, Natalia.
Thanks.
So our next slide, this is the contact information for each of our coordinators. We list it here and we're going to leave it up for a few minutes. This is also available on our website. The coordinators and the programs they oversee, so you can email your specific questions based on the programming that your child is involved in to that specific coordinator. So I'm going to leave this here for a minute. But again, this information is on our website. And this PowerPoint will be posted on our website. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. Natalia, I'm going to let you catch your breath. And I'm going to move on to our next slide, if that's okay. Everyone took the time here to write down these email addresses, I hope. But again, they'll be on the website. So this is our last slide. Anna, these are our staff members. They're so excited to welcome their students back. They've been meeting. I have weekly drop-in sessions, and they've been dropping in weekly, even though it's the summer, to ask questions, to provide some feedback, to offer suggestions. Our educators are so they're concerned with our students. They are putting our students first. They're focused on how to best support our students, what they can do to make their environments more welcoming. I'm really proud to work with all of these people. I'm proud to work with everyone in this Zoom meeting right now. Everyone is working very hard because we have age pride and we want our students to be successful and provide them with everything they need. So we're going to answer some questions. We still have some time left, but I thought it was important. Our teachers sent us their pictures. Just a note, our teachers are also, we know that we want our students to see the face behind the mask. So we've been talking about the idea of pins they can wear with a picture of them without the mask for our students. There's just been a brainstorm of ideas of ways we can make our programs, our classrooms, the experience for students a more welcoming one. Natalia, do you want to take some questions?
Yes, we have a few, so I'm gonna go rapidly. All right.
Okay.
All right. So what does inclusion look like in regular education for both the hybrid and the online model? There's nothing more specific there, but I guess it's just talking about inclusion with regular ed peers.
Okay, it's going to be very similar. So the time that children would be in with the regular ed peers, they'll be with the regular ed peers. Online, they'll be in that cohort with the regular ed peers. It's going to be very similar to what's in, it'll be what's in that child's IP, but it'll be very similar to what has happened prior to March 13th.
Can you just review again if a child has a medical or sensory need that precludes them from wearing a mask, what happens in that situation? Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is in the order that was signed for, and the order refers to it as face coverings. So if there's something that's documented in a child's 504 or IEP as a medical, a reason they could not wear a mask or a face shield, then they're still attending school, they're not wearing a mask or face shield. And we may take some additional precautions with our staff maybe some, additional mask or face shield for staff. But, there are people, adults and children who will not be able to wear a mask. And that's, I want to say, again, I'm reading all this stuff. I think it's section 3 of the mask order from the Department of Health.
Thank you. I just want to mention that when this meeting started, there was sun coming through my windows, and that is now why my room is so dark. So for no other reason, except for the sun went down. In case you were wondering, my power has not gone out or anything. How will parents know if their child will be offered 4 days a week of in-school programming?
So someone from Pupil Services would be reaching out. So we have reached out to some parents. We're really looking at individual cases, again, based on the level of need and the amount of time the child spends in special education. That's very important because of the cohorting issue. So we have reached out. We will continue to reach out. You would be hearing from one of us.
Can you talk a little bit about just quarantining if a child comes down sick? Just in general, what that will look like and what our process is?
Sure. So like I said earlier, we are under the Chester County Department of Health. And so anything, a child comes in and they're showing symptoms, we're told that a child tested positive, a day after they've been in school, that all runs through the Chester County Department of Health. So we have a contact there. In fact, the director of that program, that Department of Health was at our last board meeting. Dr. Rushi attends weekly meetings. It's Jean Kasner, not to be confused with Jane Kastner, our English language development teacher. She has been attending meetings weekly with the other superintendents, with Jean Kasner, and we're going to follow their guidance. So if a student is told to quarantine, they would reach out to us. We're asking that if a parent, a staff member, or a student is going to miss school because they tested positive, that you let us know so we can coordinate with the Department of Health. You please let the building principal know in that scenario. Again, it's all going to depend on guidance we get from the Chester County Department of Health.
Thank you. What about concerns regarding children who are medically fragile? What should parents do if they're concerned about their child? What would be the next steps for them?
Please reach out to us. Please reach out to us with your concerns. If you're, I know many families who have medically fragile children already reach out to us to say, my child cannot be in school and will be going to Haverford online. And we've been in touch with those families with regards to, eventually setting up an IEP meeting. So really reach out to us. We can walk through a little bit more about, what we've been given from the Chester County Department of Health, and the, again, the health and safety plan will be presented tomorrow night at the school board meeting. It's a lot of information that we've been talking about for weeks now, but we can talk about that in a little bit more detail if you have specific concerns about your child's health. Please reach out though.
Thank you. When will families receive devices? And this doesn't really fall in our wheelhouse, so you might not be able to answer, but it did come up, so I wanted to mention it.
I'm not positive. Whoever asked that question, please make sure you put your email address and I will talk to our tech department and we will find out for you. But I honestly, I don't really know.
Will busing be provided to children who attend approved private schools?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
There's just a lot of thanks there. There's also a lot of people just to be asked to be contacted individually to discuss their individual child situation. So, if you want to talk about over the next few days, what that will look like for us as coordinators. Yeah.
So we will go through this chat at the end of this meeting. We save it. We'll try to divvy it up, and reach out based on, the programming your child is involved in, and the particular coordinator that would oversee that program. So we'll try to reach out soon. I hope that people will be a little patient, as we probably will have quite a few emails after this meeting. And we want to give everyone the time that they need to talk through their questions with us. So it might take a few days to do that. but we will, you know, set up some time to divvy up that information and, you know, try to address some questions.
I think it's important to note too, we're getting some questions that are very specific to schools, you know, so, you know, what it looks like, you know, as being a new 9th grader or as being a new 6th grader. I know that the principals, if you want to expand on that, Nicole, but the principals will be putting out, you know, information in the coming days, coming weeks.
Yes, and so, you know, as we go through the process of reviewing the health and safety plan with the school board, and, you know, if they do vote tomorrow night, you know, a lot of this communication goes over to the building principals because now we're really focused on logistics. So, you know, you'll start to get those emails that normally come in August from principals, you know, with welcome back and the normal logistics of the school year. This year, it's going to be a little bit more work to get those logistics figured out. But we're all, you know, working around the clock to make sure we get everything sorted for the beginning of the school year.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a timeline yet on when parents will be alerted to cohorts?
I want to say we're waiting for the Haverford online registration to close, which I believe is August 7th. So I'm not positive, Dan, as the principal, do you know of a date? I'm thinking probably after that closes.
That sounds about right. We're working on it now. It's going to take us a couple days to work through the data and coordinate with, you know, some of the other principals, but sometime next week at the earliest, maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
And again, just questions about, you know, the 4 days and reaching out to families to let them know, just as a note. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we'll look at those people that contact us about it. That again, this is we're really, like I said earlier, you know, I think we have a setup that allows us to bring some students in 4 days a week who we know because of the nature of their programming and their IEP that they would not cross cohorts and they would maintain social distancing within their classroom. I do want families to be mindful. Absolutely, if I could wave a magic wand and have students in at 6 feet of social distance, we'd probably need a couple more floors in each building to do that. We'd be bringing more students back for those 4 days of in-person instruction. We spent a lot of time measuring and looking at other options. If something changes, trust me, if something changes, we will be reaching out. But as it stands right now, we really have limited ability to do that. And so we're really focusing on supporting students with the highest level of support in our schools.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Battistelli. Again, we are getting some requests. Just we promise that we will reach out to you and we will contact you. That's why these presentations are super challenging, right? Because we're talking about very individualized plans sometimes. So it's hard to give it an answer. Again, another question just about will it be recorded?
Yes, it's being recorded. It will be on the website. So this is being recorded. If you missed the first half of it, it will be on our website. So please know that it's being recorded.
Okay. Sorry, I'm fishing through all of the thank yous, which is very nice, and we do greatly appreciate that. I'm just trying to make sure that we've hit all the other questions. Will students with IEPs be switching classes to get to their special education room?
Yes. So we are cohorting to limit the times that large groups of children are in the hallway. So if we did not cohort at the elementary level, let's say 4th and 5th grade, you know, when students switch to go to their math class, you know, at Manoa, there's like 120 children possibly in that grade level would be in the hallway. Now split that in half, that's still 60 children in the hallway at one time. However, with our students who are going to go out to get special ed services or, maybe go to the special ed classroom for, math or English, or go meet with a speech therapist, there will not be large groups in the hallway. So we are cohorting, as best we can to maintain, but clearly there's some services that we cannot push in to classrooms. So those students would go to that room. In between sessions, again, we'll be cleaning. We had to move some of our related services rooms because of the size to allow for small groups at 6 feet of social distancing. So those changes, when I tell you the complexity of all the needs in our department of moving some things around just to make sure we can run programs in the way we feel they need to be run. So we did have to move some of those rooms, but yes, so if your child is in, a general ed class for English and then maybe goes to speech therapy, they would still do that.
Great, thank you. What if parents are undecided by August 7th in regards to enrolling for Haverford Online? And we know the implications that has for us, but if you wanted to speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so while that makes it a little bit more difficult for us in our planning, you have the right to be undecided. This is a very unusual situation that we're all in. And, I can tell you my friends text me, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think about this? And they flip-flop every day as to what they're going to do. So I know that that's what is happening in many of our families right now. So yeah, if you do decide you want to do Haverford Online at a later time, please let us know. It complicates our, planning a little bit, but it's more important that your child is in the program that you want them in. So please let us know if it happens after August 7th.
Great, thank you. Will there be space available for students that have included breaks in either their 504 or their IEP?
Yes, so we're still going to have breaks. And if you watch some of the other, we had a lot of live sessions this week, and this was discussed in some of the other meetings. The principals are building in mask breaks for, all students. So we'll have those breaks, but if your child gets additional breaks per their IEP or 504, we will still have breaks for that, yes.
Okay. Will my child have to wear a mask for the entirety of the day?
We are going to have mask breaks. So yes, most of the day, but we're going to have mask breaks. Dan, is there anything particular to the middle school that you would want to throw in there?
Just that we're educating all of our staff to be mindful of our students, whether it's a movement break, a brain break, or a mask break. I mean, we're very sensitive to how our kids will be, feeling during the day, and we're going to be very mindful of making sure that those things happen.
Will the mask breaks be outside at times?
Yes. Yeah, we are looking at using outdoor space when we can. The benefits of being outside for our mental health, for our children, it's, if it's a nice day, we're going to try to get out there.
Great, thank you. Will students who have in their IEP for push-in support, will that continue to happen?
Yes, so when we looked at classroom, that was another factor in this whole measurement of classes, the staff that pushes into the room. So if your child has push-in speech therapy, that's still going to happen. Some people asked prior to this meeting, would all therapy happen in the classroom? And just the nature of some of our therapy sessions, that could not happen. But if your child has push-in support, that will still happen, yes.
Okay. If a child has in their IEP that they will be receiving group, either OT or speech, will that happen?
Yes, so that's why we had to move some of our therapy rooms. So in a therapy room that could normally fit 3 children and an adult comfortably, we now need 6 feet in between all of those individuals. So we had to get, creative with some of the space we were using. Many of our schools are pushing in unified arts or electives, specials at the elementary level. So those classrooms are freed up a bit. So we were able to kind of get creative with the use of space in some of our buildings. But that was kind of the reasoning for having to move some spaces.
Okay, great. Some parents have just inquired about evaluations, and we will be reaching out regarding those specific situations, just because it's just too specific to talk about in this venue, but I just wanted to let those parents know. that if you're asking a question about, where your child stands in that process, we will reach out to you to get you more information.
We have about 5 minutes left. So I just want to be mindful. Natalia, do you want to scan for any overarching questions that we didn't hit yet? I know there's a lot of individualized questions in here, and we are going to reach out.
When can families expect to get case management assignments?
Yeah, so that we need to kind of figure out the Haverford Online numbers. It'll happen before the start of the school year. I don't have a date yet as to when exactly that will happen because of a lot of logistics we have to work out.
Okay, great, thank you. How will instructional aids be used? That's the question, but I think we've covered instructional aids in lots of venues tonight.
Yes.
So maybe if you kind of just want to go
So
over all the varieties.
In the building, we have some students who have instructional aides who do anything from, prompting them to stay on task to supporting that child, in navigating the hallway or utilizing the bathroom. That'll still happen in the building. We have students who are online and they have use of an instructional aid. We might have some instructional aides who can check in. We're going to utilize our staff, with this hybrid model. We're hopeful that we'll have a little bit more flexibility with our instructional aid staff, that we can have them, checking in with students. How's your virtual day going? Did you complete this task? Did you watch this video? Do you need my help with anything? So, we're going to use them creatively to support our children.
We still provide busing to private schools.
Yes. So, again, I'm not in the transportation department, so I don't want to talk too much about something I don't have experience with. However, if we're busing our children, then we would be busing private school children.
Great, thank you.
Sure. We have about 3 minutes left. Again, Natalia, if there's any overarching questions, I'd be happy to answer them now. If not, I can move on.
Yeah, I think we're good. If I have to jump in with something, I will.
Okay, thank you. So we have 2 minutes left. We want to hold it. It's 8:30. I'm sure some of you have children that you need to put to bed at this point. So I don't want to keep you later than you have to be on here. So I just want to let you know, we have spent a lot of time working through this scenario that, obviously, if you asked me, July 1st last year when I moved into this position, if I saw myself figuring out programming during a global pandemic, I would say no. So we're all kind of thrown in to the scenario, and we're really working hard to do best by our children. That is really at the root of everything we're doing. We are trying to get all of our resources that for online. We are, aware that at some point we may be told that schools are closed. And so we have already gotten more resources for if that happens for our students. I want to thank everyone, parents, the administration here for taking the time to join us tonight. There's a lot of questions that I'm sure individualized and we'll get to you. But this is, an hour and a half out of your evening, and I really appreciate your time tonight. So thank you. We'll continue to have our H Pride, and we'll move on from here, and hopefully in the next few days we'll address any individualized questions. But I want to thank you. And if you feel like hearing me talk even more, you can watch the board meeting tomorrow night because I'll be presenting on the health and safety plan. But I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thanks to everyone on the administrative team who joined us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Right.